Welcome to All Things Real Estate CRM. My name is Gary David Hall. Welcome to part 3 of the Realvolve review. Now let's talk about workflows. But before we talk about workflows in Realvolve, let me give you a little bit of history. Back again to Mark Stepp and Advantage XI. And in there they had activity plans which he called task series. There's a difference between activity plans and workflows. Essentially, they're both a set of tasks. It's a compilation of a number of tasks, anywhere from a handful to 100. It could be any number of tasks. But the idea is that instead of going into your tasks and adding one at a time, when you apply an action plan or a workflow, you're posting out all of them at different days and times all at once automatically. When Mark created the task series in Advantage XI, they still are the best in the business. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think anybody would argue with me. When I say the best, I mean the capability that exists in them, how powerful they are, what you can do with them, the options that you have. Now Mark has gone and easily surpassed himself in building these workflows in Realvolve. And when I say building, I mean, I'm not saying this particular workflow, which is essentially a drip campaign. Keller Williams 33 Touch is a well-known set of emails that go out, as well as some phone calls interspersed throughout. But I'm not talking about what he built as far as individual ones. What I'm saying is the capabilities when you are building a workflow in Realvolve far surpasses anything in the industry with respect to how many options you have and how easy they are to implement. And some people might say they're not that easy, and to put it in perspective, they're not easy to set up, but they are far easier to set up than in something like a Salesforce-based product. Rethink, Property Base, Leading Agent. I've used Leading Agent, and I've set up workflows in there, which is based in Salesforce. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure. They could possibly be more powerful. I don't think they are. I haven't explored it that deeply. I'm not that much of an expert with it, but I have built workflows in Salesforce. And to me, these are more powerful and certainly easier by comparison to do. A workflow is essentially a compilation of tasks. So here's a workflow that says, on day 1, send them this email. A week later, send them this email. 2 weeks later, send them this email, and so on. So this is essentially a drip campaign. But note, if we go down a bit, 6 weeks into it, we also have a reminder to call someone. All right. And if you've never seen a workflow or an activity plan before, you're saying, well, this is a list. How does that remind me to do anything? Well, this is a template. This is not where you would launch it or activate it. This just shows you what's contained in it. If I wanted to apply this plan, this workflow to someone, then I would be in a contact record, or I would be in a property or a transaction. But let's go back to me. And on my home screen here on Radar, I have start a workflow. So let's say I just spoke with Gary Hall and I want to put him on a follow-up drip campaign. I would start workflow, choose a workflow. And here's the one we were just looking at. I'm assigning it to me. to Gary Hall, or hit next, and it shows me what's going to happen. You can customize the activities, which is again not something that others allow you to do, other CRMs, when you're about to launch a workflow. But I can then say next. The workflow depends on following dates. Please verify dates and changes necessary. I'm starting it today, and then it's saying these activities will be added to your calendar. I now have the option to just let that whole thing play out. So all of these reminders are going to come up on these dates because I said this is the start date. Remember how it said on week 1 do this, on week 10 do this, on week 16 do this, and so on. There's a call, so I say done. And now what? We're creating activities. It'll be available shortly. What activities? Here's my activities tab. And here are those tasks. So in the contact record, I can see what's coming up for this person. But if I were to go to my dashboard, I can see in the tasks, upcoming tasks. Oh, did I not click on that? Okay, I'm going to see those appear here. There's one of them right there. And then the way, depending upon the way I have this set up, this is just an email going out offering free moving boxes. Depending upon the way I have this set up, I can either manually accomplish this or look how it's been set up. Choose an action to perform. I can send the email, skip it, close it, or I can run, send email message, send the message, or I can edit the message here. Preview it, do not send, send message. Now, these are all options that I gave myself when I created the plan. I could have just as easily said, I don't want to see any of that just came up. I just want it to immediately go out. And in this case, that's probably the way that one would go. Okay, so the practical application goes from the template to the contact or the listing or the closing, and you in the workflows section you have the templates, and then in the practical application it is when you're in the contract record, the transaction record, the listing record, and you apply it there. So why am I saying that they are the best, the most powerful in Realvolve? Let's take a look at one. Let's go to one of these. This is the general information. This is the number of tasks in this. And I always get a good chuckle when I'm showing someone my transaction plans and say, okay, if you have the seller and you're going to closing, this is your list of tasks, and there are 128 of them, and often people will say, oh, I don't want to do all that. I said, no, you don't get it. You already do it. You just don't have it listed. So people say, oh, God, I don't want to do all that. You already do it all. Having it organized, it's what's going to make more of a difference in your life than you can possibly imagine. When I initially created Transplans years ago, I thought, wow, this is wonderful. People are going to get so organized. It'll make their life so much easier and better. And the reality is that it's amazing how few people, how few agents use transaction management plans, because it does take some time and effort up front to create them. And no small amount of time, to be honest. But the end result is just, you can't even imagine how much it will change your business and your life if you use workflows regularly throughout your business. So, and you can see the kind of things is the deposit checks, submit that to the front desk, the contract, the seller disclosure, the closing costs, all these things that you do every time you sell a house. So let's look at one. Let's change status in MLS to pending. Right. So why do I say that these are so much better or more powerful than the others? Let's look at it one piece at a time. So we are now editing one task, which is change the status in the MLS to pending. We sold the house, so it's no longer active. We have to change the status in the MLS. This is one task right here. These are a number of other tasks that are not opened. We're not editing them. So the first thing is the title. What is it? Change the status. The next is assign to whom. Okay, I can, right off the bat, this is unique in the industry. In all the rest of them, you have the options of assigning it to an individual, and in some cases, you might have one or two other options. Nowhere else do you have the options to assign it to positions and this many different positions. Next, who is this task associated with? Again, nowhere else in the industry do I have these kind of options. Change the status in the MLS. Well, it would be associated. It would be assigned to someone. Would it be assigned? Would it be relevant to any of the other parties? Not necessarily, but if this task were, my options are none, or prompt for the contact when created. So remember when we were going through that little dialogue when we said finish this task in the 33 touch follow-up, and we got a chance to review the email and all that. This is saying prompt for the contact when created, so we could actually assign this task or send this task to someone dynamically when it came up in our task list to do. Or we can assign it to a specific contact, and I like that right here, bang, I just start keying in the name. It gives me the options of the different people, and I can assign it to that specific contact, and I can assign it to more than one. Or tagged with any of the following. So I can actually assign it to people based on tags in their contact records. Party members. If this were the type of task that other party members were involved, again, I have a staggering number of different party members that I can copy this task to. Back up to the top here. Again, in the industry, it's common to be able to have to-dos, appointments, calls, emails. That's typically it. We have some others here that we can do. Is we can call it as well. Big deal, but it's a nice little touch. Some people are really big into color coding stuff. Okay, in this case, I can color code the task. So if it's super high priority, I could color code it red. That's the way it's going to show up on my task list. And we didn't really show it, but when I order things, if I display my tasks for the day in the left-hand column, I can order them by color. I can also order them by high, medium, low, or none. I can also order them by number. Okay, so you have, depending upon the way you've been trained or the way you like to do things, there are no options left unturned, unoffered. What kind of a transaction is this? Is it just a general one? Are there attorneys used? So in your state, are there attorneys on both sides or no? Is this a condo transaction, which would invoke other things like condo doc requests and things like that? Each time we accomplish a task, we have the option of saying, I want this task to be included in the report, in my client report. What client report? Yes, this will generate a report to your clients to let them know what's going on automatically. So as you go through your day and you accomplish these tasks, if when you created this workflow, if you said this task should be included on my report to my client, then you're automatically building a client report as you accomplish the tasks in your workflows. Do you want to be reminded ahead of time? Or I'm sorry, this one, do you want a reminder? And if so, do you want it to be an email reminder or a pop-up? So anytime this task comes up, you can be reminded. Anytime any task comes up. How often does it happen? And then create actions. Opens up a whole new set of options here. In order to create actions, I have to select a party member. Well, not so, but let's go with that. All right, so create actions. A title for the action. What am I going to do in this action? Am I going to send a message? Send it manually with a preview. That's the way that one came up when I showed you that example of it coming up on your dashboard, is that it was send manually with a preview. It came up, it asked us, do you want to preview it? Do you want to edit it? As opposed to, like I said, instead of going through that, if it's a template email that is always going to go out without you having to change it, then you could just say send it automatically. And in Realvolve, you have a system setting where you say, if I am sending any emails out today, send them at 2 a.m. or whatever you choose. Or just send immediately as soon as you launch the plan and as soon as this task becomes due, regardless of the time of day. One of the types of categories you would have with contacts would be active, pending, past, prospect, buyer, seller. And in order to make sure that you get everybody in the right categories all the time, it can be nasty. It can be difficult because you may have somebody, and in the case of Realvolve, you would be using tags, not categories. But if you are actively working with a buyer, the two tags I would have with them would be active and buyer. Once you go under contract, I would remove the active tag and add the pending tag. So then they would be a pending buyer. Then when they closed, settled, I would remove the pending tag and add them to past. So they would be past buyer. Remembering to change them all the time is miserable. So automating that is wonderful. I can say add remove tags from contacts. I would say here tags to add to pending. Tags to remove from active. So this task might have been the closing date or the day of closing or something like that. So okay, well if it's a closing date, I want to remove them from pending or add them to past and remove them from pending. So the ability to do this automatically, I can't stress how wonderful that is. Now, and remember, we're still in this one task, right? Here, these are other tasks. Here, and because I opened this create actions, I have this whole nother section. These are other tasks. This is still part of that same task. Now I can say, when I finish this task, let's say again, maybe this task was the closing date. So it means I'm done. We're closed, we're settled. So I can say, well, if this task is finished, that means we're done. I can launch another workflow, which might be post-closing follow-up workflow. And something that I skipped up here by mistake, and don't want to do that because this is again, innovative in the industry, is a checklist within a single task. So I could have one task that might be submit contract package to office coordinator. And in that package, they require the agreement of sale, the seller disclosure, the buyer's financial information, call it the BFI. And I know we're on different sides of the equation here, but the point being is I can create a checklist. And so when this task comes up, I can check off the things I have completed. If they are not all completed, I have the option title for the action. I'm demoing it. I don't need it to be title. Save. Because I have a checklist here, I can also say action for incomplete checklist, reschedule in 1, 2, 3, 10 days, whatever I want to do. What's the practical application? Getting that package complete and having this task come up to me daily, if that's what I want, until that package is complete so I can submit it. This is, again, a unique feature. Love it. Now, I'm a little bit geeky on this because I created action plans, geez, I don't even remember how many years ago now. I started using them with a DOS real estate program, real estate CRM, in 1988. So I've been building action plans, which these are, better. They're called workflows for a very long time, which is why when I say these are the best I've ever seen, I have a little bit of, my opinion is a little bit qualified, and you won't find better than in Realvolve. Well, this has turned out to be a very long review. Hopefully it was equally as informative. If you're considering trialing or purchasing Realvolve and you found this to be helpful, I very much hope you will do it through my site. The URL appears below. That's GaryDavidHall.com. The price is $37 a month, which is the same as the vendors. No one else is authorized to offer any discounts, but I do include a 30-day trial free, and my Transplans emails come included with it, which are a $49 value. Thanks for listening. I started in real estate sales in 1987 and started using a DOS real estate CRM called Real Estate Specialist in 1988. I've watched literally every single one of them come out since then, and all of that information and much more is on this website. There's the better part of 100 pages here. Please take advantage of it. There's nowhere else like it on the internet. Thank you. Again, my name is Gary David Hall.